just started moving up the ranks in terms of my training levels. All along, though, so we talked about how my mother was in the Sea organization until I was age 10. I'd already signed a billion-year contract at age 7. Then I signed another one when I was 12, and then another one when I was 14.
Wow.
And I was just constantly being heavily pressured to join the Sea organization. And as a teenager, I did not know how to get out from under that pressure. It was very, very difficult. It was very stressful. It was, I just felt like I was a bad person if I wasn't going to be joining the Sea organization. And eventually I caved and I was like, okay, I'm going to join the Sea organization now myself. And by this time I was 16 years old in Los Angeles. So it was July 1991. And when I told my mother, even though she's a Scientologist, she was crying and upset. And because she herself had been in the Sea organization, she knew full well that if anything went sideways and I didn't end up making it in the Sea organization, or if I tried to escape or, on and on and on, then that would potentially destroy our relationship. And I think that's what she was most scared of looking back on it, which ironically, she was right. Mom, you were right. I shouldn't have joined this organization. So
quick question for you. Why did you have to sign so many contracts if it's for 1 billion years? Is it a different contract as you age up?
No, it's the same contract. It's just that recruiters, I think they actually get a statistic, like a number on their graph for a number of Sea Org contracts signed. So because it was different recruiters, each one of those recruiters wanted me to sign a contract with them.
Got it.
So it was really just a numbers thing.
Yeah, just for show. And I want to add some context here to how serious this is, like your mom's concern. So for people who aren't aware, if Claire were to leave, well, she did, she becomes seen as a suppressive person, and anyone who is still in the good graces of Scientology has to disconnect from her. They don't really have a choice. And so that's why it's such a serious decision.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, that is what ended up happening in the end. It's ironic for me looking back on it that in the 30 years I spent in Scientology, in my mind, I always thought, well, if I were ordered to disconnect from my mom or my sister or a family member, I would never do it. I would not comply. And I really believed that, though I was never ordered to, and I was never in that position. Nonetheless, the little voice in the back of my head who I had locked up in the closet back there, not to be listened to, was not in agreement with disconnection at all. So it's just kind of ironic that, it ended up being, I never did disconnect from my family. They disconnected from me.
Right. And that must have been so hard for you because, like you said, you weren't okay with that practice, and now it's being forced on you from the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah. What's most destructive about disconnection? Obviously, number one, destroying family bonds, requiring someone to have no contact with their family. I mean, that's not even applied to prisoners in prison. They still have contact with their families.
Yeah.
It's just a very destructive, absolute policy in Scientology that is dangerous because it isolates you from the people who care about you most. And then Scientology on top of that lies about it and says, oh, well, disconnection is a choice. No, it's not a choice at all. Any Scientologist knows it's not a choice. If you're told to disconnect, you follow the order. It's an order and you do it, or there's consequences, just like anything in Scientology. And then also Scientology has even gone so far as to lie about it, say, oh, disconnection doesn't exist. And that was a lie that was, on national television that probably resulted in half of Scientology leaving Scientology.
Really?
Yeah, they knew it was a lie. It was like, you can't lie about things like that. Just be honest and be open and, state what you believe and state what you practice. That's a big difference in Scientology than other religions, is they don't state what they believe. They're not open. You have to move up the levels to learn the upper confidential. Yeah, exactly. It's a business model. They have a price list, and you pay for counseling and courses as you go. It's a business.
Yeah, there was something similar that happened with Mormonism, where the prophet went on a very popular TV show. I don't remember the name of it now, but he was asked very point blank a lot of questions, and the prophet lied on TV, and everyone was like, I can't believe he did that, because we're taught to be honest in our fellow dealings with man and all of the things. And the prophet basically just said later on, like, people don't need to know all of the ins and outs, and they just want to understand. And all of us were like, wait a second. Yeah. So they do that now too. There's a like a Q&A thing on their website for people who are looking to join the church. And it has all of the hot button topics, like, do Mormons believe they get their own planet after they die? Do you believe in dinosaurs? And they straight up lie. And they're like, we've never taught that you get your own planet. And we're like, that's not true. Like, I was taught that. My mom was taught that. All of us are sitting there like, we just learned that in Sunday school. You can't just straight up say on your website that that's not true, because you know it sounds crazy, and you know that investigating members will look at it and say, oh no, this is too much for me. And so that's what's so funny about it, is anytime there's information that sounds off, just from like a regular critical standpoint, they will gaslight their members, or they will lie about it until you get in further to where you can't leave anymore. You're in too deep.
Yes. Yes. Completely. And to me, just be honest. Believe whatever you want to believe. Hey, there's a lot of people that have crazy, crazy beliefs out there. You know what? I take no issue with that.
Yeah.
But don't lure innocent people in and lie.
Yeah.
Don't like present a false picture of, oh, we support families and we support unconditional love and all these things that are 100% false. Don't do that. That's not human.
Right. And another thing I wanted people to understand about joining the Sea Org, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, once you join, the classes become free, but it's still racking up this sort of debt. So if you were to leave, they could send you a bill. And that's another reason people are terrified to leave, because they don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to pay this bill back. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. So when you join the Sea organization, essentially you have layered in many layers of leverage and control that keep you in. And one of those, yes, you're absolutely right, that you are required to study 12 and a half hours a week as a member of the Sea organization, to continue doing training for your job and to do counseling in Scientology. Like you're required to continue your advancement in terms of your knowledge of Scientology, both from a job-specific training standpoint, but also going up the bridge to total freedom, to the levels of clear and the upper operating Thetan levels and counseling training and, they call it auditor training. So yes, every course that you do as a member of the Sea organization, you sign essentially an invoice that says there's no charge, but it's this cost. So if you ever leave, you're going to be required to pay that back. I can't remember what they call it. There's some term that they use for it, but it's, they're still documenting. They're still making you sign that, yes, I'm responsible for this. Hubbard has a policy called freeloaders. So he says, oh, you can't let members of the Sea organization do anything for free, because then they'll just turn around and leave. And they will have been freeloading.
Wow.
Getting a free ride, basically. I have a freeloader bill that's $96,000. So,
oh my gosh.
because I'd gotten up to the upper levels, Mark's was, I think, 68,000. So between the two of us, in rounding up, if we ever wanted to speak to our families again, just one of the steps we'd have to do would include paying $160,000 to Scientology.
Wow.
Can't make that up.